Hi, and welcome to Anne's Family Recipe. Today I'm making my current favorite meatless meal, roasted cauliflower with chickpeas and crispy feta. So this recipe is my adaptation of a Tegan Gerard recipe. Now she runs the food blog Half Baked Harvest. She has so many amazing cookbooks, and about 6 months ago or so she shared on her Instagram feed this wonderful looking recipe for crispy lemon feta cheese with roasted chickpeas over basil butter orzo, and I made it exactly like that, and it was very, very delicious. But my husband had asked me if I could try some lower carb options over the summer, so I swapped out some veggies for the orzo, and it is really good. So I cannot wait to share this yummy meatless meal with you today. There are so many flavors and textures happening in this recipe. There's the crispy cheese, the pan-sauteed zucchini and crispy chickpeas, the roasted cauliflower, and a creamy yogurt sauce. My first step is to prepare my chickpeas, also known as garbanzo beans. So I'm just draining and rinsing 1 can and then drying them very thoroughly because you don't want them to be damp at all or they won't get nice and crispy on the outside when you cook them in a skillet. Next up are my veggies. So I have 2 zucchini, a head of cauliflower, and a few incredibly large leaves of basil, and I'm just slicing the zucchini into coins. I wasn't kidding about these basil leaves. They were as big as my face. So I stacked up the basil leaves and rolled them up and then started slicing them thinly. I think technically this is called a chiffonade, but basically it makes these nice little ribbons of basil that you can sprinkle all over your roasted cauliflower. And then I also reserved some to sprinkle over the whole dish when it was ready to serve. So lastly, for my cauliflower, I cut out the core and then broke it down into little florets. And just to help it cook faster and also to make them more bite-sized, I also cut them down a little bit too. I put the cauliflower florets onto a rimmed baking tray. I drizzled them with a few tablespoons of olive oil and then a sprinkling of kosher salt and black pepper. I tossed it all together with my hands, and then these roasted at 425 degrees for about 25 to 30 minutes or until they were a little bit golden brown and crispy and fork tender. When the cauliflower came out of the oven, I sprinkled about 3/4 of that chopped basil all over the top. Next, I chopped up 4 cloves of garlic very finely. Some of this is going into my lemon yogurt sauce, and then the rest is going in with the chickpeas. For the yogurt sauce, I combined 1 cup of plain yogurt with the zest and juice of 1 lemon, 1 minced garlic clove, and a pinch of salt. And then I stirred this all together, covered it, and refrigerated it until it was time to eat. For the feta cheese, I took an entire 8-ounce brick of feta, and just like the chickpeas, I patted it dry really well so there wasn't any excess moisture on the outside. Then I sliced this into about 1/4-inch thick pieces, and then I took about 3 or 4 tablespoons of cornstarch in a bowl, and I coated both sides of each piece of cheese with the cornstarch. And this helps create a nice crispy golden crust on the outside of the cheese. In a large skillet over medium heat, I added a few tablespoons of olive oil, and then I placed all of my cornstarch coated feta cheese inside. And these only took about a minute on each side to get crispy and golden. I removed the cheese from the skillet and then added in an extra tablespoon of olive oil. Then I tossed in the chickpeas with the remaining 3 cloves of minced garlic, along with about half a teaspoon of paprika and a little sprinkling of red chili flakes, which is totally optional, but it's nice to add that little bit of heat. I sauteed these for about 5 minutes, and then I added in my sliced zucchini and a sprinkling of dried thyme. These cooked for another 5 minutes or so until the zucchini was slightly golden on the outside and fork tender. You can also season this layer with a little bit of salt and pepper as well. So now all the components are ready to go, and it was time to compose the dish. So I started with the lemon yogurt sauce on the bottom. You can use as much or as little of this as you want. Then I added a couple generous scoops of the roasted cauliflower with fresh basil over top, a few spoonfuls of the sauteed zucchini and crispy chickpeas, and then a few slices of the feta cheese, which to me is the total game changer of this dish. If you've never had crispy feta cheese before, you need to try this dish because it is absolutely delicious. I've also made this with goat cheese. It's slightly harder to work with, but you can still use the same technique by slicing it into medallions, coating it with cornstarch, and then pan frying it in a little bit of olive oil, and it is equally delicious. There is so much going on in this dish. You have that salty, warm feta cheese, the cool and creamy yogurt sauce, delicious veggies that have been roasted so they're a little crispy on the outside and then tender on the inside. I really hope you give this tasty and unique dish a try. And if you do, comment below and let me know. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel and give this video a thumbs up if you liked my meatless meal idea. Thank you so much for joining me here in my kitchen, and I'll see you again soon with another family recipe.